Okay, we have more information on crossing the Suez Canal, pretty much based on the Israelis, and how many units they can get across the Suez Canal before the game's over. However, each unit they take off crossing the canal, they don't get back, so you got to time that just about right. Then we had terrain effects on combat, which produce, I believe, they produce shifts. I think they produce combat shifts on the table. Anyway, and more on the terrain effects. And then we have the Egyptian artillery bombardment and the Israeli artillery support. What basically happens is, at the beginning of each of his combat phases, the Egyptian player may make an artillery bombardment against each of 2 Israeli units that are adjacent to any, Egyptian units. Once per combat phase, the Israeli player may provide artillery support to one of his attacks. Note that neither player has separate units to perform these functions. You just got to remember them in your head. And then we have the procedure. Egyptian player rolls 1 die for each Israeli unit. Die roll of 1, that unit is eliminated. So 16% chance each turn of taking out an Israeli unit. And Israelis get to support their attacks by having a 1-column shift applied to the right. And each of these are different and are resolved differently and all that stuff. So we don't need to worry all about that at the moment. I'll explain it as we go. Then we have the game, how to win the game, or how the game is won, conditions of victory. At the end of, let's see here, see if I can get a better focus here. Maybe not. Anyway, at the end of the 7th turn, we stop play and the winner is determined. Whether or not the Israeli player has a bridge unit in the hex 0112 with a line of communication to the hex 1708, and whether or not at least 6 Israeli units are in the cross canal unit's holding box. If these conditions are not met, the Israeli player wins. Well, let's read that again. If these conditions are met, the Israeli player wins. If not, the Egyptian player wins. Alright, then we have to have a line of communication, and that's just a path of uninterrupted road hexes to some sort of source here. See if I can turn the page without the camera just falling down on me. And let's see if we can't find the rest of that. Up here. I seem to be hurrying and all that type of thing, but I'm kind of leaning over the table here into the camera. No excuses, but it's killing my back. Anyway. And there's some other things. Once you put the bridge in, I don't know, something to do with some other stuff. And then there's other stuff, and then there's some things, and then there's some other things. And we have game variations where the Israeli can use parachute units, the Egyptian can use parachute units, the 6th Kuwaiti Battalion and the Palestinian and Jalad unit can be added to the Egyptian force pool. Then we're going to have the Egyptian 130th Marine Brigade can jump in if you want them to. We have the Israeli and Egyptian commandos we can add. We have an airborne landing variant, and then we have an amphibious variant, landing variant. I will probably not use these game variations on this replay, just because I don't want to have to try to remember them. And finally, last and least, we have design credits. First edition, Mark Herman with Jim Dunnigan. Redmond Simonson did the graphics. We have some play testers. Second edition, mostly Decision Games crew members and such. And personally, I think the original version is probably the better one, but if this is the only one you get a hold of, then this is the one you play. Okay, that's it for the rules. That's it for the map. That's just a brief description of the game. And when I come back, we will start game turn 1 and or any preliminary game functions that we need to perform. So when we come back, we'll start the game.